Welcome to 4 Women, 4 Decades Life Lesson Conversations. In this series, we're going to be talking to lots of people from around the world about the lessons that they've learned that have helped them to see life and the challenges that they face from a new perspective. And today I am so excited to be talking to Jo Moseley. So Jo is 55, a mum of 2, 23 and 19. She's been flying solo with them for the last 13 years. She lives on the edge of the Yorkshire Dales. She is a beach cleaner, a joy encourager, a midlife adventurer. She's a keen paddleboarder and was the first woman to stand-up paddleboard, SUP for short, coast to coast. That's 162 miles, and that she did last summer, picking up litter and fundraising as she went. She has a love for making tiny films about the joy of the outdoors, some of which have won awards. Finding Joy, Found at Sea, and Small Things, Great Love. She's currently, and this blows my mind, she is currently in lockdown, climbing Everest in a month, raising money for her local food bank. Jo, welcome. I am so excited that you're here. So
Thank you.
Jo and I have, in fact, this is the first time that we're looking at each other because we kind of connected on Instagram. I don't know how or when, but there was something so wonderful when I came across Jo's Instagram account, which is called Healthy Happy 50, and that's a 50. And she's got about 5,000 followers at the moment. But there was something joyful that came out from her page, a beautiful smile, just always something feel good to share, and we just connected.
Thank you. Yeah, we did. We did.
It's absolutely wonderful. So Jo sent me some ideas about things that she might like to talk about, and I'm kind of just gonna see what comes to mind for you to talk about first off, about life lessons that have had. Well, what's touched your life?
Well, one of the things I sent you were two. There were two poems that I found. I will show you them here. They were torn out of an old Oprah magazine, sometime around 2008, 2009. I was in the early years of being a single mum. And they were bright yellow at the time, but they've been on my fridge for years. And the first one, probably the most impactful, was, in the depth of winter, I finally learned that within me there lay an invincible summer, Albert Camus. And the other one was Louisa May Alcott, I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning how to sail my ship. And what I said to you at the time was, when I sent these to you, was, when I pulled these out, put them on the fridge, looked at them literally every day, I didn't believe those things to be true. I literally did not believe them to be true. But I believed that one day there was a hope that they may be true. And I lived for years and years on the hope, literally on that, I was hanging by my fingertips, living on the hope that maybe those things would one day be true, that I wouldn't be afraid because I was learning to sail my own ship, and that I would find an invincible summer within me. And it took probably another 10 years for me to find it, but I think I have, and that was great. So that's my biggest life lesson that I can think of now. Yeah, exactly.
And so what was that journey like for you, from the kind of the disbelief almost? What were the lessons within that, if you like?
I think for me, I don't talk much about my divorce, but for me it was definitely not a conscious uncoupling. It really wasn't. And for all of us, everybody impacted, it was heartbreaking and awful and horrible and very, very hard. And it sort of torched my life, and I had to start, like everybody does, just building it back up. And you start to question certain things, and is this important? Is that important? And you build those things up. And so for me, it was just a step by step by step, and a few detours, a few wrong moves, a few, this could be the answer, this might not be the answer. And it was literally just, you know, pebble by pebble, rebuilding my life, rebuilding the boys' lives. And then I got to the stage where I thought I had, how do I say this? Okay, I'm going to say it. So I was in a relationship. I am in a relationship. He doesn't know I'm saying this, but anyway, that's cool. And I thought the relationship was going to go in a certain way.
Yeah.
And it wasn't going to go in a certain way. And there was a lot of tears on my part. And there were a lot of evenings in the bath with a bar of chocolate and a candle and a sort of, oh my God, I've done it again, I've messed up. And what I started to realize was, I remember a quote, and I don't even know if I'm remembering the correct quote, interestingly, but there was a quote I had in my head from Sex and the City. And she said, maybe it's not men that are our true loves of our life, maybe it's our girlfriends. And I thought to myself, yeah, maybe that's it. But maybe that's it for some people. But for me, the true joy, the true love is not a man. It's not my girlfriends. Actually, there is something within. Maybe that summer is in.
Oh my God, I'm going to cry.
I think I need to, you know, binge watch Sex and the City again. But maybe that's it. Maybe all these books I've read over the years that keep telling you that, maybe actually this is it. And maybe if I find that summer within, then I don't need to seek that love outside. And that love outside and those expectations can just disappear. Not the love doesn't disappear, but the expectations, the validation, the approval, the permission, well, you are loved because someone has told you he loves you, and he has shown it with some jewelry or an occasion. But if you don't need that, you can still have the love without all that and with so much less hassle. And it took me a long time, and really the adventure, paddleboarding coast to coast, was part of that. And it was part of saying to myself, you know, you can do this thing, you can be brave, you can find yourself alone, and you can still be incredibly happy. And took all the pressure off, and yeah, and I found that summer.
Oh my God, that is so profound. I can't believe we've gone straight in there.
Sorry.
No,
It
absolutely.
took me 54 years to get there. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so I finally, that poem that had literally been a hope. And we all know, you know, life changes, and there will be other moments where the winter comes and the rain and the thunders, you know, all that. I'm not saying that it is all sunshine by any means. You know, I have, you know, my father, my sons, my sister, you know, all these people I love, all different things will happen. And so it's not pure sunshine every day, but the summer is still there, even when the thunderstorms come and the rain comes and the winter comes and the fog comes and the confusion comes. I believe somewhere deep down I will be able to tap into that summer. And I hope I'm right, but I believe it right now.
No,
I'm hanging on.
Absolutely. And the thing is, you know, I mean, this is exactly what we all talk about, the four of us, that it's our resilience that is there. It's innate. It's part of who we are. It's our essence. And, you know, we're all kind of having a bit of a girl crush on Glennon Doyle at the moment with her book Untamed. And, you know, and that's it. And she talks about the same thing as well, you know, and it's this, I absolutely love what you said. It's seeing that in fact, Michael Jackson, the man in the mirror, he talks about, he sings that it's the man in the mirror. It's the person, the woman in the mirror. That's the greatest love, isn't it?
And
that's
I always
where
thought
it starts.
But I always thought that was either a little bit egotistical when people said, you know, I love myself. I think that's probably how we were brought up, you know, not particular to my parents, just the society, you know, women shouldn't like themselves too much, you know, that it was being a bit braggy, you're not that pretty, you know, always, women were always, you know, just tried to be brought down a peg or two. So I always thought that loving yourself was quite an egotistical thing. or I thought you loved yourself in order for someone else to love you, that there was a sort of stepping stoneness about it. But actually, I realized it allowed you just to be freer in a way. You like Glennon Doyle said, they either keep coming around, and that's lovely, or they stop coming around, and that's lovely too. And in the same way, you work out, you know, whether those people come around or not, you're still okay.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah, that's it. And that's so I so get that it was seen, and I was raised, you know, in a religious household, so very much it was, you know, seen as pride before a fall. So that
exactly.
was all that,
yeah,
you know, and again, it was all innocently done, so there's no blame or anything here.
no.
But you're absolutely right. Whereas, you know, one of the things that I talk about a lot is that we can't pour from an empty cup. The first thing they say to you when before you're about to take off is put your own oxygen mask on before you can help anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of, it's not a nice, it would be nice, a nice add-on, if you like, to care for ourselves. It's vital.
Yeah.
It's vital. And I love that you've seen that as well, that it's like the greatest love is that doing right by ourselves. And then we're not hanging on somebody's words or hanging on how many likes we've got or how many followers we've got to validate ourselves.
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. So that and I love that Camus quote, you know, that invincible summer.
Yeah.
Inside. So whatever is going on the outside, that is untouchable.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes it might be lost.
Yep.
And sometimes I won't feel it, but I know, but simply knowing it's there. And still when you say the pride comes before the fall, there is still that element in my head saying, is this real? I do believe it to be true. I do really believe it to be true. There is still that 1% which harks back to all that stuff that I used to hear, you know, don't get too big for your boots, all that stuff. But deep down, I do believe that there is that summer beach in my heart somewhere. Yeah.
You and me.
I know exactly what it looks like.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Since that point of having that realization, that insight that the summer was there within you, what's shifted going forward in your life?
What shifted? I think that with that particular relationship, it's got a lot lighter. There is that element of, you know, you're kind of lucky to have me, which we joke about all the time. But I think just life is lighter. It just feels like I feel braver because I'm coming from a foundation of if it all goes wrong, there is still a soft place to fall within me. It feels more creative, because if somebody doesn't like what I say or do or create, then the actual act of creating it has brought me joy. So I made a film called Found at Sea, and I had a week to make it, to put it into a festival. And I haven't shared this because I found out that it had won this award right before lockdown, and it didn't seem appropriate to share, but it won. But what I realized was that the process of doing it, despite the fact I was doing it on my phone and my laptop and my phone weren't talking, I was literally sitting there at night in December, you know, making this little film and thinking it's all going wrong and I can't do it and I can't get this right. And I was texting my friend Frit and saying, why do you make films for a living? This is the hardest thing and I hate it. But I still kept doing it. After work, I would come home and do it. But when I submitted it, there was this sense of, if they like it, that's just amazing. And if they don't, I've shared something within me. So I think it just makes me more creative, makes me braver, makes me lighter, makes me have far less expectations of other people. Yeah, just lovely.
I love that when we let go of expectations.
Yeah.
Whether that's a relationship, whether that's a creative project, whether that's work, whatever, and that's expectations of others as well as our own expectations. There is this bigger playing field, isn't there?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And you allow yourself to join that playing field, whereas before I was waiting for permission. I think I waited for permission to be happy and creative and brave till I was about 48, 49. And it was only when my mum died and I did my first big fundraising challenge. And I realized that in hindsight, it was quite a brave thing to do and quite a big thing to do. And I thought, why have I held myself back for so long? And so, yes, it allows you to step up and there's a filmmaker I really like, and she called Dr. Ruth Farrer, and she talks about if there isn't, so she does films about adventure and sport and stuff like that. And so she talked about if there isn't a place for you at the table, you know, make your own table, bring your own chair, you know, find your own voice. And I'm always paraphrasing her, but it's something like that. And in a way, this is what I have tried to do is make my own table, bring my own voice, and you chip away at it, particularly kind of in adventure-y things, because I'm not the typical look and age and sex of, you know, but you just chip away and suddenly you turn around and someone says, because you did what you did, I felt braver to do what I wanted to do. And you suddenly realize you have, in a way, created your own little table. Beautiful. And it doesn't have to be a fancy table. But it is your little table that says Jo on it, you know. And you then say, oh, come and join my table. And that is lovely. And you make your own friends and you bring them around your table. And it's, it's lovely.
There's, oh gosh, I love how you speak, and I love that, this sense of adventure, and also it's giving, you know, when we give ourselves permission to do something, we're giving, and this is a Marianne Williamson quote, you know, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. When we shine our own light, is how she says it. When we shine our own light, we subconsciously give others permission to do the same, and that's one of the things I love about you, and that's, you know, one of the reasons I follow you as well, is because you just see this beautiful community that's thriving because of you being brave enough to do something, to be able to create your own table, as you said, take up your space in the world. And that, gosh, for women, I think that's so huge in whatever field, but particularly, as you said, in the adventuring kind of field. That's so important. I mean, I was totally in awe. I've stood on a paddleboard once, and I'm longing to do it again, but it was a really choppy, windy sea, and I was hanging on for dear life, you know. I watch you, and you look so graceful and elegant in clothes. You know, and it's like, how do you do that? But it's this, I mean, so what are the things then, adventure things? So like choosing to do that, and like, you know, the campaigning that you do as well, you know, the litter, the 2-minute beach clean and all of that. Was that always something that you wanted to do, or is this all kind of part of the unfolding, the opening, the blossoming of Jo?
I always wanted to. I found a photograph recently, you know, everybody's like unpacking boxes, and actually it was my cousin, actually it was my mum's cousin, and she sent us a photo, he sent my sister a photo, she forwarded it to me, of me when I think I was about 10 or 11, had jeans on, a little blue jacket, packet of sweets, really short hair. And I just looked at this little picture of this little girl in a spot that I go to every day near my dad, when I can, near my dad's at the coast. And the things that I'm doing now, that little girl loved doing. You know, we would I have a younger brother, and we would throw ourselves in the sea. I would play with boys. I loved doing that. I remember 1976, we had our own Olympics on the beach. We had different names for waves. And I had a little boat. I won a premium bond back in the mid 70s, and I bought a little blue boat. But then I was not a particularly confident teenage girl. I was very academic, but had such high expectations. I guess now I was anorexic. We didn't talk about that stuff. It was all very hidden, very dark. And I thought, you can't be a girl and like throwing yourself in the sea. They just didn't seem right. I had to read Jackie and think, how should I be a teenage girl? Literally, I don't know how to be a teenage girl. And so I lost a lot of that. I did more things in my 20s. I lived in Germany. I did lots of environmental things then. It was like the start of the green movement. I lived in America for a while. I kayaked in Alaska. I did all those things. So it was like inside, and then it just, with my marriage and children and all that stuff, I just lost it all. So for me, it's not necessarily it is an unfolding, but it's also something more like an excavating. I think it's Emily McDowell, it's like you're excavating back, you're going back to what matters. And so for me, these things have always been there, but I've kind of taken detours and maybe not focused so much. And now I have more time as my sons are older, and I'm giving it more time because it's more important to me to do that. So I'm doing what that little girl in that picture I think would approve of.
Yes.
And she would say, yeah, you got there in the end.
Yeah.
And I feel like kind of I'm doing, I think she would approve.
How beautiful is that? Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm. Don't make me cry.
Oh. It's so interesting in the Facebook group, which is still in its very infancy. This is all very, very new. And I'd asked this morning in the group, what are you going to make time for this week? And some of the things that people are talking about are the things they used to do when they were younger.
Yeah.
And it's reconnecting. Somebody's just bought themselves a flute because they used to play the flute.
Oh my God.
Somebody used to journal a lot. And they've started doing that again. And maybe it's this time of COVID-19 where we've got that opportunity to actually think about things in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know gratitude is a massive thing for you as well.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think because when I about 2 or 3 months after my husband and I separated, my dad had his first diagnosis of breast cancer. And my dad's gone on to have 3 types of cancer and a really dodgy thing with his heart. And I went through the whole of my divorce and everything with this in the background. And so in a way, it was like it gave me perspective. It was like, okay, this is just awful, but you're here and we can make, look for I had to keep looking for the joy. I had to keep looking for gratitude. I had to keep reminding myself that it was awful, but Dad was going through what he was going through. And then straight after that, he got another one, and then Mum got hers, and then he got another one, and then Mum died. And so it was like, and I know so many people have it even worse, and it's not me that went through the cancers, and I'm still here. So it's I'm incredibly fortunate. My dad's gone through it all, not me, but I had to find a way to find joy and gratitude when it was difficult. And I think that was one of the aspects of I think that's really where I started to really grasp the power of gratitude. Literally, I would say to myself at night, we got through today. We washed, we cleaned, the boys went to school, we ate a nice meal, and we got to bed, and everybody is basically in shape, and Mum and Dad are still fine. And it was got back to that real level of and then I just carried on. And I know I'm incredibly fortunate, and I used to write a gratitude journal, but it was just like, I remember, again, I think it was in the 80s, I saw a program on Oprah about it, and no, it was been the 90s, and I'd get it out at late at night, and I'd be like, oh, okay, things I'm grateful for. And I just found it like a real list. It's like, I'm a really good woman, and I read Oprah magazine and I watch her TV program. So now I'm going to write it. But it felt like another thing I had to do. Whereas what I needed to do was, for me, learn the process of looking for gratitude so I could do it whenever. So I could do it in the middle of the canal when I had made a mistake. Can you believe that somebody can make a mistake on a canal, Rebecca? I went the wrong way, like literally. The whole joke, God, my head's a bit long, but the whole joke was that if you go from coast to coast, you can only go in one direction. You can't make a mistake. And I made a mistake. I was paddling along. I picked up a bag. I was like, oh, look at this big bag of rubbish. I'm going to fill it. And wow. My board spun round. I stood back up and I carried on. And then I went, I think I've seen this bridge before. No, maybe I'm wrong. I'll just go on a bit more. And then I literally got to this point and I went, I have seen this bridge before. I have gone backwards on the canal. How stupid can I be? So I burst into tears and dirty. And then I thought to myself, okay, you can go down this rabbit hole of you're the worst paddleboarder in the world, you're the worst mother in the world. Everything that you've ever done wrong comes piling into your head. Or you can say to yourself, okay, let's go through all the good things that are here. You're on the canal, you're having a great time. This is your dream. And I just literally was able to bring that process of gratitude to ground myself, to calm myself, to stop crying in the middle of a canal. And the cows are looking on going, whoa. And the ducks are coming paddling around going, what's she doing? And the gratitude, it was the process of gratitude, if that makes sense, that I brought into when I needed it. It was the process I needed, not a journal. That just works for me. Some people use journals. I absolutely appreciate that. And I would love to have a journal because then I could look at it. But for me, it was the process of when it all goes wrong and I feel like everything's out of control and I've made a mistake and I'm the worst person in the world and I'm just the most stupid person. Gratitude is a way of bringing myself back, of calming my mind and saying, okay, actually, I haven't paddleboarded 162 miles. I've paddleboarded 165. It's the longest coast to coast. Yeah.
That's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So there's just one more thing that you kind of written about, and that was leaving room for magic. Tell me about that.
I did. I think I learned that from the trip, because when I originally had the idea, I told somebody, it was back in 2016, and I'd only been paddleboarding for about 2 months, and I had this great idea, and I told somebody at a Christmas party, and his response was, it sounds very boring, logistically quite difficult, and a bit too hard for someone your age. And so I kind of put the dream away, if I'm honest, because I just felt disheartened. I wasn't confident in my abilities. And when I decided back in January 2019 to bring the dream out again, it was my youngest son was going to university. Oh gosh, time flies. So he was going off to university in October 2019. My eldest had just finished his master's, and I knew that I wanted like this dream to pull me to the future. I wanted something, that whole empty nest thing was kind of coming ahead, coming at me. And I wanted this big dream to pull me to the future. And so I resurrected the dream and I put it out there on Twitter and Instagram. And I didn't really know how it was going to look. I just put it out there. I have this thing about putting it out there, and then the world comes and different things happen. And the magic started happening. So, for example, my friend Fritz, who is now my friend, wasn't at the time, she said, could she come and join me and film with me? And we have this Thelma and Louise relationship behind the scenes. She is 25 years younger than me, very, very different, and yet we have this amazing bond. So that was one element of magic. The people that said that they would like to come and join me on the canal and just cycle or walk, other elements of magic. The exposure I got in the press, a magic that I could never have imagined.
Chelsea Flower Show, I think.
Oh, Chelsea Flower Show. Yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, that was amazing. I was at
Yeah.
Chelsea, you know, I was on a paddleboard in Chelsea Flower Show, and then I was on the TV for like 5 seconds. And then at the end, it was this beautiful day, and I was paddleboarding along. And the first time for so long, the wind was behind me, and Frit was measuring where I was on her WhatsApp thing. And she said, and we'd never done this, but there were some people coming to the end at the end that she wanted to tell them when I'd be there. And she texted me and she said, Jo, something's gone wrong with the GPS thing because you're going far too fast. And I was like, no, Frit, the wind is behind me. I am actually going at this speed, because I stood up and I put my paddle out. So I basically became a triangle, and I was just going down. And I came to a lock, and the lock keeper said, oh, I've read about you in the paper. And then I came through, there was some fish and anglers at either side, and they were like, yeah, go. I was like, that way's cool, isn't it? And they were like, yeah, go, go, go. And it was just, the world was just like behind me. And then this huge thunderstorm about, I don't know, 5 minutes outside Goole, as one of my British canoeing friends came and paddled out in her kayak with me. And we went in, and this thunderstorm happened to the point of I didn't have time to put my leggings on, sorry. And we arrived in Goole, and there was people cheering, and the thunder was there, and then it stopped. I mean, it just stopped. This thick rain just stopped, and this massive rainbow came out. And when my mum was dying in hospital, she said to us, if you ever see white feathers or a rainbow, you will know that I am there. Well, all the way through the canal, I kept seeing white feathers, but you know, there were ducks, there were swans. I could rationalize that. But as I finished this coast to coast, and I knew my dad was a bit on the risk, a rainbow came out. And I thought, I could never have planned that. I could never have imagined that. This is the magic of the world, that I didn't expect the people to be on the riverbank. I didn't know that the rainbow was going to have, it was beyond anything I could ever have imagined. And that was because I let there be room for a project to grow. You know, and I am somebody who spent her whole life second guessing. I would spend my whole life saying to my ex-husband, it's all going to work out, isn't it? And how's it going to work out? And what's it going to look like when it works out? And I don't say that to myself anymore. Now I say, it may work out, it may not, but we'll be okay. We just have to let the magic grow, not, you know, smother it to the point that we don't know what's going to happen. Just let things happen. And a lot of magic came out of the trip that I didn't expect. Invitations to speak, invitations to write. So yeah, I let it grow, really.
Wow, Jo. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
That's kind of a really good place to kind of pause.
Oh, thank you.
That's just such a joy to speak with you. Absolutely such a joy. And I know,
it's a huge honor for me.
Oh, thank you. I just know that everything you've said, there's going to be something in this conversation that's going to resonate with so many different people, whatever their age. I
love that. I love that you're doing this. I love this. I love that there's a generations, and I found that with Frit. We can learn from so many, you know,
cross-generational stuff.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
So I hope that everybody found that as beautiful as I did. Please feel free to leave comments, to share this video, you know, share it out to everybody else. And this video is part of our 4 Women 4 Decades conversations. And you're going to find lots more similar conversations in the coming weeks. And don't forget to subscribe to keep up to date with the next video.